All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Bad Place by Dean Koontz. This is a standalone novel of most of his, 99% of his are standalone novels. Anyway, this came out in 1990. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. I do love the old style horror novel look. I mean, this is 1990, but it's still reminiscent of the look of horror novels in the 80s and 70s. I like it. A picture of the author on the back. Cover art by someone named Don Bowdegem. Don Bowdegem. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Now, I'm a huge fan of Dean Koontz. I've got all of his books over here. Let's see, there's a bunch of them on that shelf. And then that whole shelf right there is full of nothing but Dean Koontz as we pan through the library. But anyway, one of my favorite writers. We're going to slowly reread and review all of his books. I have read everything that he's put out at least once, so all of these reviews are rereads for me. And so it starts out, Frank Pollard. He is one of our main characters. There's a group of main characters. We bounce back and forth. It's only about a 400-page novel, but we do bounce back and forth for between about a handful to five. That's a handful to five characters. We'll edit that out. Anyway, Frank Pollard is the first one we meet. He is very afraid to fall asleep. Because every time he wakes up, every morning when he wakes up in a new place. It's a mystery where he's at. He doesn't even know where he's at. Sometimes he's covered in blood. He's just he's waking up in all sorts of strange places. But he's not a drunk. This is not a hangover. He's just literally not knowing what's going on. What was that? Gosh, there was a movie where that happened. I can't remember the name of the movie, or the Christopher Nolan movie starring Guy Pearce, where he kept waking up. And anyway, two other characters, Bobby and Julie. They are police officers, investigators, and they're married. They're married, and they investigate murders and different things on the police force. Married couple. I hope they told HR that they were in a relationship. Otherwise, they get fired for that kind of shit. Anyway, maybe they were married before they joined the force. I don't know. I just thought of that. Not supposed to be dating your coworkers, Frank and Bobby, Julie, whatever the fuck. Julie and Bobby. There's so many things I need to edit out of this. This video has gotten off to the worst start of any video I've ever done. Candy is the third character that we see the story through his eyes. Now, Candy is a serial killer, which is good because that gives Bobby and Julie something to do throughout the book to investigate these serial killings. And he's a sociopath who drinks the blood of his victims. Probably the best character in the book, really, because it's more interesting to follow the bad guy, especially if he's just like creepy crawly type bad. You just kind of makes your skin just like curl up and shrivel up and whatever when you're reading. Yeah, it's Dean Koontz does a good job of that. In fact, one of the strengths of Dean Koontz is he'll have chapters, 4, 5, 6, 7 page chapters where there's no dialogue. No characters. It's just one person wandering around the city. And that's hard to do. That's hard to write a scene like that where there's no dialogue and make it interesting, but Dean Koontz really does a good job of that. The other character that we get to know is Thomas. He has Down syndrome, but not only does he have Down syndrome, but he has visions. He's the supernatural character kind of in this book, and he has visions of the bad thing that's coming and the bad place where it's going to happen. That's why it's called The Bad Place. And so whatever that is, whatever the bad thing and the bad place is, that's what we have to look forward to as we read through this book. And it's cool. I mean, those are the main characters. I don't think I need to discuss the plot too much, other than it's a serial killer novel with a guy named Candy, a gentleman named Frank Pollard who wakes up in strange places and can't remember what's going on. The two investigators, Julie and Bobby, who work on the police force, and Thomas, the Down syndrome character. It's a, what do they say? Fast-paced reading, masterly. That's what some of the people say about it. Oh, here we go. I'll just read the back, or I'll read the inside jacket. There's a little description. I have not read this before. The description. Frank Pollard is afraid to fall asleep. Every morning he awakes. He discovers something strange, like blood on his hands, a bizarre mystery that tortures his soul. Two investigators have been hired to follow the haunted man, but only one person, a young man with Down syndrome, can imagine where the journeys might end, that terrible place from which no one has ever returned. And it is called The Bad Place. That's a pretty good description. In the description, they don't mention Candy, the serial killer Candy. They do mention that more than 90 million copies of Dean Koontz novels are in print. And that was in 1990. 90 million in 1990? Imagine how many there are now. Because that 1990 was like a good 7,000 years ago. That's a lot. I bet he sold a lot more books. Anyway, I like The Bad Place. I'll give The Bad Place about a 9 out of 10. It kept my interest. I don't know if it would finish in my top 10 Dean Koontz books of all time, but it's certainly up near the top.